Go big or go home is what I always say. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing with this massively fun and supersized floral wreath project made with Oly Fun fabric. I'm using bolts of Oly Fun in bubblegum pink and snow white, along with some 18-inch wreath forms. You're going to want the whole bolt because we're going to use the entire thing for these big projects. I'm starting off with the pink wreath, and that one I am cutting squares that are about 1 yard square. So to do that, I'm simply folding the fabric over to create a triangle and cutting along that edge. Now you can see I have a big pretty square. Now Oly Fun fabric on the bolt is what I call 2-ply. It's folded in half. So we're going to cut along that folded edge, and now we have 2 big squares to work with. You're just going to keep repeating that and cutting lots and lots of squares for your big pretty wreath. Now here is how we fold the petals. Think of it as origami. We're going to fold in the corners on opposite sides so that they touch each other, and then fold in again so that those sides meet, and then pinch it in the middle. Now once I've got it pinched in the middle, I'm going to fold it in half to make what I'm calling bunny ears. Okay, see, they look like cute bunny ears. I'm going to pinch that middle and then head over to my wreath form where I've got some chenille stems in place, and I'm going to twist those around that folded edge repeatedly to hold it in place. Once I have the petals secured, I can manipulate them to get the folds and creases where I want them to be so that it looks like a petal. That's the great thing about using Oly Fun for this project. Oly Fun doesn't fray, it doesn't rip, so I don't have to use glue or burn any edges. I can just cut and go right to work. Now what I'm doing here is pre-filling the holes with the chenille stems, because to me it was a lot easier if I just had them already in place and then I could just repeatedly make petals and stick them on. I'm starting with the outer ring there, and let's review that petal form one more time. So fold to the middle, fold to the middle, pinch it together, fold it in half to make your bunny ears, and then attach it to the wreath form. As I mentioned, I am doing the outer edge first. That ended up being 12 petals on this size wreath form. Once I have that outer ring done, I'm going to fill in the next row, which ended up being 6 petals. Then there'll be a third row closer to the center. Then it's just the same process over and over, making the petals, attaching them to the board, and then pulling them to shape them so that they look like big giant leaves. So there's the outer ring that's done, and I'm going to start on that second row of petals, filling it in repeatedly until the wreath form is nice and full looking. So, put on your favorite music, relax and enjoy. This, honestly, it took less than an hour because these petals are so easy to make. Once you cut the fabric, you're just folding and sticking them on the board. So once it's all put together, you can see it's nice and full looking and huge, but we've still got to create the center for this flower. So to do that, we're heading over to the snow white Oly Fun fabric, cutting strips that are 1 inch wide, tying the end together, and then braiding them. I ended up creating 3 of these braids that were about 1 yard long, hot gluing the ends together. And I'm not showing you the hot gluing in this video because I always end up burning my fingertips off when I'm using hot glue. So I'm just going to show you what you're going to be doing. You're going to twist that end in, hot glue it, and then hot glue the edges and keep coiling this until you have a big pretty circle that you will hot glue into the center of your flower. It's going to cover up those chenille stems, and it's going to create a beautiful textured center focal point for this wreath. Massive, beautiful, perfect for spring. Bold, colorful, I love it. Now this next giant floral wreath was inspired by a chamomile flower. They're so cute to me with their soft white petals and the big yellow center. So to do this, I am first cutting 6 inch wide strips of Oly Fun fabric. Then I'm going to fold it in half And this next step is optional, but it makes it a lot easier because it takes some of the bulk out. You're going to cut a triangle off each side. So a little triangle there, a little triangle there. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's going to see this part. Again, it's just to take some of the bulk out when we're folding this later. Now the other end, fold it in half and cut a semicircle. And all that does is round the end so that we get this pretty petal effect. You'll see what I'm talking about now that we've opened it up. See, it looks like a flower petal. And since the Oly Fun is 2-ply, as I mentioned earlier, actually cut 2 petals there. Now let's get this onto the wire ring form. This is an 18-inch ring form. I am pinching that center, and I'm going to tuck it underneath the wire of the ring form. I'm starting with the outside edge. You see I've created a little loop there where my fingers are. Now we're going to take the petal end, scrunch it together, and push it through that circle. So I've got both petals pulled through the circle, and when we pull that nice and tight through the loop, it makes like a little knot. Again, the wonderful thing about Oly Fun fabric is it doesn't fray, it doesn't rip, so we can pull and manipulate this, pinch the edges, whatever you want to do to create the petal effect that you like. So for this wreath form, again, it's 18 inches. I was able to fit 3 in each little section there. So first I've gone around and completed the outside circle. That was 27 petals. Now I'm moving on to that middle ring. That's going to be another 27 petals. And lastly, that inside ring is 27 more petals. This took less than an hour. Once you knock them out, cutting them, it's really easy to get them on that wreath form and see. It's so beautiful and lush and full. We've got to create that center now. I am recycling a 16-inch ceiling medallion, but you could also cut a piece of cardboard. I'm also recycling a yellow t-shirt there. I have hot glued it over the ceiling medallion, popped it in the center, and there's my big pretty flower ready to welcome spring and visitors to my door.